Detoxers, hello. Today we are going to talk about meal planning. And I know that's not a very sexy topic. However, meal planning is one of those things that when you get into the routine of doing it, it takes literally moments, maybe 15 minutes when you're starting out, but it makes such a difference in how your week rolls. And if there's one thing that I found has created great success, not only in this program, but in transitioning to an ongoing low sugar, whole food lifestyle, is that having some intention around what you're doing and starting to create habits and rituals that allow these things to become a lot more effortless is the key to long-term stress or long-term success and not have stress. So that is my number one thing, is if you're meal planning, it absolutely takes the overwhelm out of the whole thing. I know how it goes. Monday morning starts and away you go, and Monday morning to Friday afternoon for a lot of us is a complete and utter blur. So having something that is like, you know, kind of like the rudder to your week. It's your plan. It's how you're going to make the biggest meals of your week become effortless. This is what meal planning does for you. So I'm going to give you some of my hints. You'll hear me say this many times, but the benefit in this program is if you really start to get around the idea of planning one time for the week, prepping one time, shopping one time, and cooking one time, allowing you to eat 2 to 3 times from those efforts. So each one. So this is going to fall into bulk cooking a little bit, which we'll talk about in another segment, but this is where it all starts. This is where you sit down with a pen and paper and maybe go through some of your reference materials, or you go online and you start to create a plan for the week. So in our program, of course, we make it a bit easy for you. We have meal plans that are already in here at the back of the reference manual, and you could simply follow this, especially if you're really lost, you're not really sure how to put all these segments together. But once you start to get the idea, then you can start to create a plan for yourself. And in doing so, it just makes it so much easier. So having said that, the biggest thing for you to do when you do this is to have a routine of how you're going to do it. I'm going to tell you how I do it. So what I do is on a Thursday evening, I tend to sit down with an elixir and I create some inspiration. So I have one of these ultimate family calendars, which I use kind of like a religious Bible, and I write on here. And the reason why I do it on something big like this is because when I've written out my week, who in the family isn't able to walk over and see what's for dinner tonight or what's for lunch or whatnot. Now, does it mean that everyone's gonna follow it? It doesn't mean that, but it means that when you're running late or you're coming home and perhaps you're the primary meal maker in your house, other people can get involved. And when you write it in a place that isn't a little piece of paper that's gonna fall to the wayside, you can repurpose it. So in other words, once I have this all written out week for week, then of course I have sort of a running documentary of how I feed myself and my family, which means that the next week on a Thursday evening when I sit down to do it again, I don't have to recreate the wheel. I suggest you only use 1 to 2 new recipes a week. If you are doing a ton of new recipes, you're gonna feel a little bit overwhelmed. It's nice because of course you have new inspiration, but sometimes it's that extra work. So as you start to get used to how to feed yourself this way, and you start to create a documentary of the things that you eat, you can just pull from other days in the past, and it makes it that much easier. And you'll notice the same thing within the reference guide, that the actual 21-day meal plan we put in here, you'll see it start to repeat itself, because we don't tend to eat in 100 different ways. We tend to eat in 20 to 25 different ways. So you can repurpose it. So that was the thing I would say. That's when my meal planning happens, and then from there, I take a picture of it and it stays on my phone, okay? So that way I have sort of a running commentary of what I'm doing this week. From there, of course, I'm gonna go ahead and go grocery shopping. So from there, I might make a list on a piece of paper that I'm gonna lose in the bottom of my purse. Hint, take a picture of that as well. And I start to write down the things that I'm gonna need to be able to get myself through the week. Once I've done that, that's a Friday or Saturday where I've done the actual the actual shopping, and then I reserve Sunday for my major meal prep for the week. I'll tell you how that goes as we kind of go through this and we get into bulk cooking, but suffice to say, using 2 hours on a Sunday is such a massive advantage to making this happen. Those weeks when I haven't allowed it to happen, my schedule hasn't worked out, or I've just simply ignored my own best advice, I end up on Monday morning with a bit of a scramble, and I'll try and catch up for that on a Monday night. So if you can find some time on a Sunday and you're not doing all of those components on one day, in other words, you're not waking up on a Sunday morning going, okay, I'm gonna plan, then I'm gonna shop, then I'm cook, you're gonna probably hate yourself by the end of the day, although you will feel very organized. It's so much easier if you spread it out. And then what happens is right around Wednesday evening, I do another mini prep, something around 45 minutes that gets me through to the Friday, okay? So when you're on your calendar, these are a couple things that I would say. You know, some people say to me, I don't know what to do. I used to have Pancake Tuesday. So Pancake Tuesday might not really fall within the confines of this low sugar detox. However, are there things that you love to do, things that you love to feed your family that you can make sugar detox friendly? So if you, for example, do Taco Tuesday, can you instead start to use something else instead of a taco? So maybe you go towards a collard wrap or a lettuce leaf, or maybe you just take all the components of it and you put it over top of a nice fresh green salad. So you have more like a taco salad than you have actual tacos. So continuing to use a lot of the things that your family loves and converting a lot of your typical family favorites into low sugar, detox friendly recipes will make your family not hate you, and it will also make you continue to love and expand the way that you can actually feed yourself long beyond the confines of this program. Okay, so I definitely encourage you to do that. The other thing I would say is, if you have a family to feed and you're that primary person and you're doing the sugar detox, how much can you get your family involved in this meal planning process? So asking them what they want, or having them go through the sugar detox guide and seeing some of the photos on our Facebook, our private Facebook page. Are there things in here that interest them? The people that I have noticed have the most success with having their family members come online and making it easier so that they don't have to make 10 meals are the ones who ask for contribution from other people. So instead of marching in and saying, we're not eating sugar anymore and this is the way we're going to eating, and make everybody kind of despise the whole process, instead they say is, you know, what do you want to have? Is there anything in here that you want to have to eat this week? And then incorporating that makes a huge difference, okay? So it's always nice when you don't have a lot of resistance, and it works better if you just kind of lovingly bring people into the fold. So the other thing I was going to say is, I want you to use the concepts of bulk cooking. So when you are creating your meal plan, think about what can you create tonight, for example, that you can go ahead and turn around and repurpose tomorrow. If you can make 2 chicken breasts tonight for dinner, can you roast 6 chicken breasts? That chicken breast, some of it can go into the freezer, or you can chop it up for tomorrow's breakfast with your eggs, or you can have it with your lunch tomorrow, or you can shred it and somehow incorporate it in tomorrow night's dinner. And that's what I would say. If you're making 1 pan of roasting vegetables, why don't you make 2 pans of roasting vegetables? Those roasting vegetables that you had tonight are perfect for your lunch tomorrow or your breakfast or whatnot. So I will definitely go through this in, you know, kind of a bigger deal in another video, but just suffice to say, when you're thinking like that and you're starting to plan, instead of having 12 different types of protein throughout the week, just see if you can start to increase it. Or if you're grilling a steak, no problem to grill some chicken at the same time if you like a little bit more variety. All right, and above all, I would say you're gonna have a plan, but at the end of the day, you need to be a little bit flexible. So having some staples in your fridge, some things that are really easy to make when, you know, it's kind of fallen apart, or you've fallen off the wagon, or something came up, you had to stay late, and you come home and you just can't bear to start, then I would say, you know, remembering that things like eggs can be just one of those perfect meals for you, or having dry salad and those kinds of things that you can use as your base works really well. Now, a note on inspiration. So we have, I think, I don't know, something like 60 recipes within our sugar detox program. What I think people like about them is they are very low sugar or no sugar to begin with, so it's a soft place to land when you're starting out. It also gives you a guideline of things that you can be making. So definitely make sure that you turn to the recipes that are within our guide. But when you are online, there is so much inspiration. And the places that I would tend to point you towards would be things like you know, a lot of the paleo websites, or plain old low sugar websites, or plant-based websites. A lot of those blogs and websites and so on have a ton of great sugar-friendly, low sugar-friendly, detox-friendly recipes, but also you can convert them with a few minor substitutions. I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite ones that I have at home. because I still just love to flip through the pages. So Nom Nom Paleo is actually a bit of a complex cookbook. It's the one I tend to use more in the winter because I find there's a few more extra steps in here. But everything is absolutely delicious, and it falls 100% within my low sugar lifestyle, and I love it. And it has tons and tons of photos, which we all love to look at. So any type of paleo cookbook will tend to fall within those confines, so you can go ahead and source those. This is not a ketogenic program, but it definitely helps you get very fat adapted. So I have actually found some good resources in some of the ketogenic cooking menu books as well, in the recipe books. This is a good example of it as well. So sometimes I notice that when you are trying to create a low sugar lifestyle, if you're not careful on where you're getting the information, you'll find that it might be low sugar, but it's not particularly whole food. So I would always encourage you to try and marry the two, because that's going to give you the best results. I could not do this without also giving a shout out to my friend Jen Pike, who has her own book from the Simplicity Kitchen. Lots and lots of great things in here as well. And like any time you look at a cookbook, you need to look at it through the lens of wanting to be 40 grams of sugar or less per day. So this might mean that you need to Google a few things or look up what's naturally occurring in some ingredients. This is very much a whole food cookbook, but some of it, of course, might have a little bit too much sugar for you. It is very natural based. I would definitely encourage you to look at this. Lots of great pictures. And this one always comes up because she's just so lovely as well, Danielle Walker. She has a number of different cookbooks as well. They're all great. She also has a blog that has many of the recipes. Typically, they're all called Against All Grains. She does not use grains in any of her cooking. Tons of great ideas in here, very adaptable or already very much low sugar lifestyle. All right, so you want to have inspiration, but you don't want to feel bogged down by the process. So if you're looking for a little extra, great. I would say tap in and take 1 or 2 recipes from these types of things, and over a course of weeks, months, years, you'll start to increase your repertoire. But for now, I would stick to the concepts that we've been talking about and just starting to get used to the very, very positive thing of meal planning. All right, so you can let me know how it's going, but I would encourage you to start right away.